You ready for some questions? We should do like a fire round of questions and see how quickly you can.
You know how quick I can.
No, we're not, because then it'll all be you stumbling.
Yes.
So, what did you want to be when you grew up? When you were little?
When I was little?
Yeah, or now, if you have a goal of what you want to be when you grow up.
Actually, the one thing I wanted to be was a cameraman and out in Hollywood.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
But I don't know, I thought that'd be just so neat to be one of them.
You can run the camera. You're filming on Tuesday. You can run the camera. Dreams come true on the Richard Wilmore Show. Oh, that'll be fun. It's very high tech. Was it like movies that you loved, or like what part of that?
Movies, yeah. To do movies on via go to all these different locations.
Mm-hmm.
And,
you were born in California, right?
yes, I was.
Where?
San Pedro, California.
How
Right outside of Los Angeles, on Army Hospital.
How long did you live there?
Just 6 months, 7 months.
Do you remember any of it?
Oh yeah.
Did you get to travel a lot? Where have you traveled? Have you really traveled? I mean, we didn't really travel growing up. I mean, going from northern Wisconsin to southern Wisconsin wasn't really traveling.
But I've been in actually every state west of the Mississippi.
Oh, really?
Yep. And all the ones on the east side that border the Mississippi.
Hmm.
And now Maryland.
Oh.
I can cross that one off my
You
list.
cross it off as quickly as possible. Do you have a like favorite state that you've been in, or not really?
I like Colorado. It's a beautiful country.
What were you doing there?
Our family used to take at least 1 week vacation every year and travel.
You probably should have done that with your kids.
And one year we went back to where I was born.
Mm-hmm.
My mom and dad showed me where we lived in that, and we took 3 weeks. 1 week to travel out there, 1 week in California, and then 1 week coming back.
Oh, wow. That's a lot.
Yes. We traveled out there, the northern part of the United States, and then on the way back, the southern part.
And I'm trying to think of like the days before GPS where you could, like, how do you plan out how it's going to take you a week to get there?
My mom was in charge of that.
No, I know, like, I know what a map is, but I'm saying, like, without, like, how do you know how long of a drive that's going to be where you can be like, oh, we're going to...
50 miles.
Yeah, you
an
figure
hour.
it out. AAA.
So I sound like an idiot, and we will be... I don't know which camera to look at now. We're going to edit that out.
But my mom was in charge of that. She would figure out where she was one to see all these odd attractions, you know. I don't know how she found out about them, but she would write to each state, and you would get a book back, you know, and they would show.
I feel like we're in the 1800s all of a sudden.
Oh, stop.
And then we would go see this stuff, and I have one brother and 3 sisters, and my mom and dad in a station wagon. All the way out there.
The way back?
Yes.
That was my life.
Did it? I feel like I remember this, but did it have like the wood paneling? I feel like I remember seeing that truck or that car at one point.
Yes, it had the station wagon did, and the back seat, way in the back, you could fold it down where it would be flat, where you could sleep back there, or the seats came up sideways so you could look at each other.
Well, that sounds horrible.
And then that's how we traveled, all of us in there.
I hope you didn't put the seats down and that's where you guys slept at night too. I hope you at least got the...
Well, actually, one time we did.
There you go.
My dad was born in North Dakota, and we went back there to his house, and we took a camper. But the camper only slept 4 people. So some of us had to sleep in the station wagon at night.
Are you the baby?
No, I'm the oldest.
Oh, why did I think you were the baby?
No, I'm the oldest.
Well, you look the youngest.
I know.
Boom.
Kept my figure well.
What was it? That's all the work you've had. What was that like? Like after you, when you're what's the age difference between you and the next one?
1 year. There's 1 year between me and my sister, and 2 years between my others. There's 3 of us at one time in high school. That's how close we were.
Wow.
And then my brother is, I'm bad at dates, but I think he's 10 years younger than I am.
He's
And
probably
then-
4.
And then my sister is a couple years younger than that.
So you were never really able to get used to being the only child?
No, not that I remember. For 1 year I was the only child.
Yeah. Again, it's like that 6 months in California. You remember it well,
Yes.
I'm sure. So then you grew up then outside of Milwaukee. Is that where you guys moved from
No, we
California to there?
moved to Milwaukee first.
Oh.
Lived there for, I don't even know how many years, a few years, and then moved to McGuanago when I was maybe 4 or 5.
And it's a room full of small business owners because my dad used to own a business. Somehow after 32 years, don't understand how this happened, but he moved to northern Wisconsin and you owned a bar.
Yes, I did.
For how many years?
Just 2 years.
Dream job, right?
Yeah, I thought it was. The drinking age was 18 back then.
Mhm.
So I had turned 18, and of course I was in the bars. And I thought, how much fun would that be to own a bar? So at 20 years old, I had the chance to buy one. So I was a owner of a bar at 20 years old.
And you lived above the bar,
I
didn't
lived
you?
above the bar.
Can you
yes.
imagine living above your job?
Runs in the family.
So it never you would never obviously had downtime then.
No, I worked 2 years that I owned a bar. I had 2 days off.
Oh my goodness.
I worked 10 to 12 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Do you have any ridiculous stories that you can tell us that I won't get kicked off Facebook for of owning a bar?
Well, our bar actually in Ashland County, our town was maybe 900 people in our town.
That's the boom of the town.
Yes. And we sold more beer in our little bar than any bar in Ashland County.
Things to be proud of.
Yes. And it was 18 years old, so kids had money, so crazy things happened. We would have motorcycles come in the bar.
In the bar?
Yeah, we'd drive, and we're up 3 steps of stairs, so they would drive it up in there, turn around, and then go flying back out. I had one guy fix his, it was middle of winter, about 30 below, snowmobile wasn't working, and he had it in the bar and fixing it while the bar was open.
Welcome to Mellon,
Wow.
Wisconsin.
So basically, almost anything went.
It sounds like
Yeah.
It was pretty wild. People still talk about when we had the bar. So it was like legend now.
What was the name of it?
Buck's Bar. The guy I went with, his name was Buck.
Not the guy he went with.
my partner.
Business partner.
Yes. So it was Buck's Bar. It was.
Did he own it before you?
He had it maybe 4 years before that, for a couple years. Then he went back to college, and I foolishly talked him into quitting college and owning a bar with me.
Makes sense.
Why did you sell it?
Because I was getting married, and I knew that there was no place for kids. I didn't want my kids to be, and I knew how many hours I was putting in, so I would have no family time.
The bar is still standing, and my younger brother is there every weekend, so it is a place for kids.
Yes.
It turns out he's of age, but what is it? So I'm the middle child. I have an older brother and a younger brother. What's it like becoming a father for the first time? Do you remember what that was like?
Scary,
Yeah.
very scary, because I didn't know what was going on. I was 23 years old, and all of a sudden we have this little baby.
It wasn't an accident either. It's not like he didn't know his baby mama. Just saying.
And
Clarifying things.
my wife was the only, She was 19.
My mom didn't go on her senior class trip because she was planning her wedding. Isn't that crazy?
She was-
Can you imagine? No.
No.
She was married. We were married 2 months after she graduated from high school,
Okay.
and then we moved. We had moved then back down to McGuanago
Oh yeah.
for 6 months, and we missed it back up in this little town, So we moved back and been there ever since.
Wow.
40 years later.
So do you remember like the first time, like when Rob was born, like what that was like to hold? I don't know. I hope that like someday I get to do that. So I'm very curious of how people, because you can't prepare for it, no matter how many books you read or how like,
No, you can't.
what that must feel like.
Nervous because I.
Didn't want to drop him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because he was small. He was only 5 pounds 11 ounces, so he was a little baby,
Mm-hmm.
And you don't know. I mean, I was around I can remember my little sister being born, but you don't know what. I mean, your life changes just
Yeah.
like that. Oh, in that second, it's totally different. I mean, here we were, young age, doing what we wanted to do. You could go out whenever you wanted. All of a sudden, you can't
Mm-hmm.
no more. You're at home.
This crying child.
Yes, well, and they run the life, your life.
Yeah.
But then, as my mom says, I was the easiest birth because I came along and I was the best child. Not saying I'm the favorite, but
I think he is.
I think
Anyway,
it is.
so we're gonna take a break, and we're gonna talk about me. So we're gonna be right back after this break.
Wouldn't it be great if your business could have a commercial on TV? Now it can. Secure your Season 5 sponsorship by visiting richardwilmore.com. Advertise on Apple TV, Roku, and Amazon Fire TV by sponsoring The Richard Wilmore Show. Become a sponsor today. Go to richardwilmore.com now.
All right, we're back with my dad. Do you want to tell the story that you said during the break or not? You can say no.
We best not. This is a family show.
It is a family show. It's about our family, and all I'm saying is, Rob,
You're lucky.
you're lucky we weren't filming during the
I'll
commercial.
tell you when I get home.
Because we'd have to cut it. We'll do it. We'll do a Facebook Live thing about it. So enough about Rob. Let's go to the perfect child, me. What kind of kid was I?
As when you first started out,
Yeah, sure.
quiet, very quiet.
What?
What happened?
Mom always says I was the easiest birth, and I always say it because I wanted to get the hell out of there.
As a young age, you always wanted to be. Always were doing something. I mean, he had a store. We
I
had
was always a business owner as well.
yes. We had a little building in our backyard, and we made a store. We collected all the boxes and all this and that.
All my relatives like opened cans from the bottom, and like all their like cereal had to be opened from the bottom. So and then
And
we
we had
had
to-
shelves, and so everything had price labels.
Of course it did.
I had a real
Makes
register.
so much sense.
Real register, and I even made a scanner for his in your counter there, and he would play my outdoor store for
I-
hours.
I had like an open close sign, and I remember, and I put hours on when, and I would go out there because I had a lot
And
of
do
friends when I was little. I had so many friends, and I would sit out in my store, and sometimes Mike would come out and play, and he would go shopping for a little bit, and then he'd be like, "Okay, I'm out. I'm gonna go do like baseball or something." He'd be like, "Hey, see ya."
That's a sport, just FYI.
Yeah.
Baseball.
I know. We had my dad built
We had
a baseball field in our backyard. We had huge land, and so we would play wiffle balls. And
Yes, from kids around the whole town.
Yeah.
As you were growing up, our house is where the kids came to. And at night we would play a game called Bloody Murder.
Do you know what it is?
No.
It's basically hide and go seek at night.
But with a lot of screaming. And
Yes.
teams.
There are two teams. I mean, at times there was probably 30 to 35 kids up.
I mean, I'm trying, and then at like during the summer, they would stay until whenever their parents.
1 or 2 o'clock.
And then my dad in our Ford Taurus would shove everybody in there, and he would drive all the kids home in the middle of the night.
And then I had to go to work in the morning at 5 o'clock.
And he would also play with us. Like he would come and he would play.
They wouldn't play unless I came, unless I was
Oh my
there.
Yeah, our house was always packed. Our yard was always packed.
Yes, all the time.
Now that you say bloody murder, I'm trying to think of like what the point of it is. You hide. I think it is like hide and seek. Only
It
you
is,
like
and we
scream
have-
when you find another
Yes.
person, and then you have to run away, and then it's like tag.
Because we had 3 acres of land, so I mean there was lots of places to hide. And Richard and another girl, they were small. I mean, Michael, our youngest one, was so small, I carried him with me because he couldn't walk, could walk, but and him and I always had to be on the same team. Richard, you were with Olivia.
Olivia
all the time.
Barabee, I loved her. Hi, Olivia.
And I mean,
She's
they
so
were,
pretty. And I had a little crush on her. I remember that. Like we were hiding, and I was like, "Oh, you're cute."
and they were
We
tiny,
should sing Paul Abdul songs together.
and they had in our front
Trade clothes.
Never.
in our front yard was like it was overgrown down by the road, and they had little tunnels in here, and nobody could get at them because they were so small. They would go in these tunnels. And one time we had everybody packed in this car. I mean, there were like at least 10 kids in the car at all times when I would drive. And the parents didn't care when they come home as long as they knew they were up playing by our house. So it's
Right?
like I say, it's 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and that's when we would quit. And we had everybody loaded in the car. We were getting ready to leave, and we realized, I don't know if you remember, you and Olivia were missing. You guys were still hiding. The game was over. We were getting ready to leave, and everybody says, "Well, where's Liv and Richard?"
It was probably like, "Where's Liv and that other one?"
That midget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was always kids up at our house all the time, day and night. Kids were up there playing and that. And Richard also had a school. You were a teacher when you were little, and I can
I was
remember
very busy.
he had his own. We had another building that I converted into a school. He had desks, chalkboard, and everything
Yeah.
down there. And most kids at the end of the school year would throw their books away and be glad to be out of there.
We collect them from other kids.
Richard would collect them. I would come and pick them up after school, and he would come with armloads. And then we had a dumpster in the back of the school where they would throw the books out. After we brought them home, we would have to go back down there that night or that day
I don't remember that. I'm choosing not to remember that.
and get the books out of there that he would use.
But I do remember it was thrilling to go to like the school supply store. And like I would get, chalk and erasers and like teacher editions of things because I like to just talk to an empty room of.
That's what he got for Christmas presents, were books, chalk, anything to do with teaching. And he had his own lesson plan book.
Yeah, I wanted to be a teacher for a really long
Yeah, I
time.
didn't know that.
Yeah,
Wow.
up until I
Got
then I
started high
converted.
school.
Yeah, and then I converted my school into a TV studio.
Yeah. He had his own TV studio in his room. How it got in there, or how he got it in there, I don't know. But you had your own studio there, and every day there was a certain time he taped his
And I would
taping.
shut the doors.
Yep.
And I would put like filming or whatever. I would put a sign up so no one could bother me, and I would talk to celebrities. Oh my lord! I don't know if I'm going to be able to air their show. I sound like such a loser.
It's just all making
It's
sense.
all making sense. Heidi
it's
was
all
born
like-
in a plane. That all makes sense. I spent 18 years of my life sitting in a shed in my backyard.
But it's all led to this.
Yes, and now I'm in a basement. not creepy.
You're
at
moving up or
Oh,
down?
I think I moved down. I literally moved down. That's sad. I don't know if I like this show anymore, Dad.
We like it.
Yeah. All right. So, do you? In case you don't know, I'm gay. In case people watching, yeah, shock. Do you remember like if you and Mom ever talked about it, or like when you kind of knew, or maybe I was really good and you didn't know?
No, we never talked about it, but between the both of us, we knew
Yeah.
at a young age.
Mom says she knew when I was 3.
I don't know what age. It was just kind of like you
I mean,
just
I was,
knew.
I was walking around with a blanket on my head pretending it was hair.
He could do a somersault with the blanket on.
And I would like wrap it. I don't know if I like this. I don't know. I'm getting nervous about this show. I feel like I'm more
Who's more
nervous than
nervous?
you
Me or
are.
Are you sweating
I
now?
think that the cameras just broke.
Do you want my own?
Wendy's crying.
No, it's fine. It's
How
all
many more
good.
minutes do we have in this?
Oh, I
madness?
stopped counting.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
you've got at
So
least
good.
20 minutes.
Great.
This section 9.
So you just kind of always knew.
Yeah, but we never. Your mom and I never said, I think Richard's gay.
Yeah.
It's just. It was when you called us. I can still remember. Well, you were in college.
Yeah.
And there was no. There was. Well, I mean, we both said, well,
Yeah.
we're not. It's not a shock.
Yeah.
We were waiting for you to, to come out. But it was just something that we knew, and then still Richard.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was just.
What would you say to other dads or parents who are in that situation? Because it was like for me, it was so hard because everything
Well, we're a
I had
small
heard,
town.
right? Everything I heard was that it's actually really horrible that you are and you're a loser and you should be playing store in your backyard by yourself because no one wants to hang out with you. Maybe that's why no one likes me. I'm not sure. So it was hard. So I always grew up thinking that it is a bad thing that I am. So that's why I didn't want to talk about it. Because why do you want to talk about something that's horrible?
Well, we were a small town too, so I don't know how to say. You would stand out because there's not a gay community.
Yeah.
In our town. Well, at least that people talk.
Right.
About,
Yeah, there were other gay people there, but no one was talking about it.
Exactly, because they did not want to be ridiculed.
Yeah.
And that's what happened to you. You had gotten bullied a lot
Mm-hmm.
in school, but you kept it to yourself until later on when you started telling us about it. Then,
Mm-hmm.
But gay. I mean, you're my son. You love you. No matter what you are, who you are, what you do,
Mm-hmm.
you're my son. So you don't judge as what you are or that.
Yeah, I would say, like, the thing that look at they're crying.
It was no big, to me it was no big,
Yeah.
you're gay. I mean,
I always said that I hope that when people, if you know your child is, I just hope that, like, I wish that there was more conversation about it. I mean, obviously you don't know how to deal with it and you don't, like, know how to bring it up and whatever, and I always wish that it was just part of our conversations, just so then it felt like I was included.
right, right.
And I can't imagine how hard it is on the other side of that, of watching your kid go through that. Like to know how to navigate it for them. You want to
Right,
help them.
and it is hard because the stigma of it,
Mm-hmm.
and you know that you're going to get bullied,
Mhm.
and really there's nothing you can do about stopping you from being bullied. It's
Yeah.
just the way things are. And that's a hard part there, very hard part, to watch you go through that and knowing what's going to happen,
Mm-hmm.
and knowing that you can't, how you would like to step in and stop the bullying, but you can't,
You could. You just go beat up a 12-year-old.
That's problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
So the Kleenex is getting handed around, and this is turning into a really fun show. We were laughing, and now we're crying. So we're going to take a break, and we're going to cry some more after this. Get out of my face.
Let's talk about spring cleaning and sprucing up our wardrobes. Did you know now is the perfect time to trim back what we don't need and blossom into our spring style with a right fit closet edit or a right fit personal shopping trip? For more info, you can call me or check out therightfit.net because it's never too late to take the stress out of getting dressed.
Are you ready?
We're
Are
ready.
your eyes dry? Good. I got more
Yeah.
coffee, so I'm good. We'll see now what happens. So the reason why I wanted you to come on was one, because I wanted to talk about what it's like to grow up with a kid like me. And you also had kind of a crappy life too. Childhood was fun. We had lots of fun times playing Bloody Murder, and then we had some not so fun times hanging out in hospitals. So in 1992, you were diagnosed with cancer.
Yes.
What kind of cancer?
Basal cell carcinoma, skin cancer.
And what is that? At one point, I think I remember talking about like what that cancer does.
Well, mine didn't act like most skin cancers stay on your skin and they just take a little bit off. Mine was a very aggressive kind that went inward, and it took, oh my God, I don't even know how many years before it never came back.
Right.
Uh,
Well, that was one of my questions that you're supposed to know.
oh,
No, I'm just kidding. I mean, when did you? Well, we'll figure that out in a little bit. When did you get your prosthetic?
I've had it now 3 years, 4 years.
And then you had to go 10 years, right, before you could get that.
No, I went, normally they tell you if you don't have, your cancer does not return, in 5 years you're cancer free. So I went to 5, and then I gave it another 2 years after that because of how it kept reoccurring up till that time. And then went for my prosthetic after that.
So it was literally like 1992 until, what was that then, 2000?
Yeah, 9 maybe?
Yeah.
Or so.
And it was like an every year occurrence.
It was for the first 3 years, it was every 6 months it would or almost to the day when they would take it and it would come back.
Now, I remember we have one picture, and it's on Easter that we have of us, and you had a mark under your eye.
Yes.
How long did you have that for?
I had it for a long time. I can't even, days, I don't know, because it was just something I always had.
And it almost looked like a bruise kind
That
of.
would
Not really,
never
it wasn't
heal.
black and blue, it was brown,
Yeah. And
but it was just a mark.
yeah.
So then what made you decide I need to go get it checked out?
Actually, my dad, in the back of my mind, I actually knew what it was. But I don't know how to say it. It was like, if I don't go to the doctor, I don't really have
Yeah.
it.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was scary.
We're really good at
Absolutely.
avoiding things.
Because, I mean, I don't even remember how you were young, maybe 7 years old when it
I was in
started.
second grade,
So what grade is that?
whatever age that is.
So I mean, we had a young family. I was 32 years old. My wife at the time was 28, and we had 3 kids. Youngest one not even in kindergarten. And all of a sudden, you get the C word. You know, you have cancer, and you wonder. it started out, I went down to finally get this. My dad actually told me, he said, I don't want to bug you, but maybe you should get that checked after all these years, And it got to the point where I couldn't look down. I would see double. It started affecting my eyes, so I thought, well, I better go. And they did the surgery, cleared it up and that. And the doctor took a biopsy, just precautionary. And I think it was 2 weeks later, they called and said, come down for this appointment. And we just thought it was a checkup. And my wife and I were sitting in a room, and the doctor comes in and says, I might have to have a Kleenex.
I should have prepared.
You like one across.
He said, we're going to have to, you have cancer, you have a tumor underneath your eye, and we're going to have to remove your eye. I only need one Kleenex because I only have one. So that's it.
If it starts coming out of the other one, we have a problem.
No, that'd be a miracle.
Yeah.
And I mean, he tells you your first thing, am I going to die? I mean, I have 3 kids that are under the age of 10. And and
Was this Marshfield?
Marshfield Clinic.
So his doctor was 3 hours away. Because you're in small, there's nowhere else to go.
No, there wasn't. And well, I went in and removed my eye and thought they had the cancer, and then 6 months later came back, did the same surgery. Well, I went down, it's 3 hours away. After they removed my eye, I had to go down once a week for 6 months.
Wow.
Drive. We were lucky enough that Richard's, my wife's parents, his grandparents, lived half a block away from
You
us.
would yell out your front door.
Yeah. We can see the houses. So we were lucky enough that they were there. They could watch
We spent a lot. I remember.
a lot of time
Yeah.
with their grandparents because I would go down sometimes for surgery or for checkup. They would find that I'd be down there maybe for 2 or 3 days, and we didn't know that we were going to be down there. And they, you guys were there a lot.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't know what we would have done.
I remember. I don't remember. There are parts. I think I said this before. There are parts of my childhood that I remember very vividly, and then there's a lot that I just don't remember. But I
Right.
remember when you guys came home, and we were at Grandma and Grandpa's house, and we were eating spaghetti and meatballs, and I was sitting at my grandma's desk eating, and you guys came in the door, and you were both crying. And then, of course, Grandma and Grandpa were crying, and then you said that you had cancer, and I started crying just because everybody else was crying, and I knew something was happening, but I
Right.
didn't, you don't know what cancer
What
is
the
when you're
age
a
that you
kid.
were at, yeah.
And then I remember when you got your eye removed, and they brought down, and I remember walking in that room, and you were in a wheelchair, and you were hooked up to all these IV, and you looked like you were dead. And I remember walking in there, and you could barely lift your head up, and it was like I knew it was you, but it didn't look like you. It was such a weird thing to watch. And then
growing up, you were young, you didn't know what was going.
Yeah.
Basically, what was going. My youngest son, he does not remember me with 2 eyes
Okay.
because he was young enough at that age. He said he does not remember. But when they removed my eye, first they wanted to get the cancer. There's a thing called Mohs surgery where they take a little bit out at a time, and this went on the day before. And it was, I got there we would get to it when they done these surgeries at the clinic. I would start before the clinic opened, and we would be lights were out,
Oh my gosh.
and we would be walking out. Well, they did this whole thing that day before, so I was wore out. And then the next day, they removed my eye, and that's when you came down. I think it was that day,
Yeah.
and you guys stayed in a motel then.
Mm-hmm. And he got a cool pirate patch to wear.
I
So we
had
thought that was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And our dad was now a pirate.
Our
Yeah. And all the kids, I remember like Halloween time, we would go to the school, and all the kids would ask if you were like.
If I
All the
was
kids thought he was dressed up as a pirate because it was new. Like everybody knew who he was, but nobody.
hadn't seen that.
Yeah.
Right. And we were lucky. I mean, and we were so young, my wife and I. It was like the whole community came together and helped us out.
Nice.
I went for radiation treatment, and I coached junior high basketball at the time, and I didn't want to miss it, practices. So now, this is 3-hour drive down, about a 15-minute radiation thing, and 3-hour drive back, and then I would go to practice. I couldn't. My wife had to work she was as a hairdresser. She couldn't take off that much, it was 6 weeks, 30 things. The community came together, and I had a different driver from the community that would take me down. And I said, we can't stop to eat or nothing because I have to get back because I have practice, but I have to rest first, take a little nap. They would drive me down, 15 minutes, drive me back. I had somebody different for 30 days that did that.
Yeah.
We had two fundraisers.
That's the good part. Yeah.
We had two because I wasn't working. I couldn't work for 6 months. There was, so we had no money
Like
coming
the
in.
lapse of being like before you could get on disability, you couldn't.
So
And he worked. He was working in a lumber mill, and he couldn't like with all the sawdust and everything.
Oh,
he worked,
goodness.
like,
Yeah.
so he
They
couldn't
were-
work, but he also couldn't get disability because you
have to
don't have
wait.
an eye. That's no proof.
So we had two fundraisers. The community come together. It was like they almost took over for us, and they just came together. To help us out.
I don't think it's ever been. I've never seen something like that before. I mean, obviously I was little, but like since then, I've never seen where an entire, and not even just the town, people from other towns were coming, like making sure we were getting to school, making sure
Right.
we had food. Like entire town would come together and raise a
Great
ton of
help.
money for medical bill. I mean, it was like an event. It was so crazy to me to
Right.
watch, and like that people knew who we were.
Yes, I mean
So I was signing autographs. No, I wasn't.
these people that were driving me back and forth. I mean, I knew them, but not because we were a small community.
Right.
You know everybody.
You know
in
of
town.
them.
Right.
Yeah.
They would call me up, I mean, I had a list of 30 days filled within, I think, 2 days. I had
Wow.
people call. It was just, it was unbelievable. Because my wife, Richard's mom, and we were worried, how am I going to get down there? And it just, all of a sudden, out of the blue, it was announced in the churches that I was going through this, and I've just got it. It was unreal.
Yeah.
It's and like I say, they called, make sure that the kids were getting into school, because we would be gone
Yeah.
for 2-3 days, and I remember one time we were down. Something happened. I had to have surgery. We were down a couple days, and I had to come back. Or my surgery was in the morning. We've been gone for 2-3 days, and I said, we got to get back. We drove home from Marshfield at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Got home just to see the kids because we hadn't seen them for a couple days, and turned around and left at 10. We brought them back up to your grandma and grandpa's, and we went down because I had the surgery at 6 o'clock. Got down there at midnight, but.
I think Slide's telling us it's time for a commercial break.
Or he's sad.
I mean, you guys just you guys rolled with fun. I mean, I guess it was your life.
Yeah, but Grandma was making salmon patties, and that was my favorite dinner, so I was fine being at their house.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
because I was such a picky eater, he would make salmon patties and pancakes after school, and he would just rotate those because that was the only thing I would eat, so I was fine.
and it was a big relief knowing that we had somebody that,
Right.
you know, I mean, we call from down there. You got to go pick up the kids from school. We don't know when because we didn't know when.
Right.
Excuse me, when we were coming home.
Yeah, I mean, I knock Mellon all the time because it's a ridiculous town, but you couldn't get that anywhere.
No,
else.
That's
I
amazing.
it's-
That's the best.
I mean,
Right,
Yeah.
we wouldn't have been able to do what we were able to do without that support.
Oh, no.
And in so many different ways, not just money and fundraisers, but just like the calling,
the call.
and checking in, and
Right,
it was
I mean-
such an interesting, weird time.
Yeah, well, it's how you grew up.
Yeah,
I mean, that was just it was doctor's appointments. You know, up till you graduated.
Mhm.
You know, it was just constant going. It was our life. It was going for that.
Okay, so I have one question, then we're going to take a break, and then we're going to do positive things. What was it like? Like, obviously, the stories or the things you read about cancer survivors or people that have had cancer is their version of it. It's also obviously hard on your family and watching and being the one to support you. What's it like being you watching your family deal with that? Does that make sense? Like what's it like to watch everybody else react to what's going on with you? Because there has to be like pressure, sort of like.
Well, it is because you're off of work. You know how you're worried about bills. I mean,
Yeah.
bills keep coming.
Absolutely.
You know, and you got all these doctor bills coming. You know, I mean, you're going down once a week for 6 months. They keep coming, and you got all these other bills, and you're worried what's going to happen. You know, and also, am I going to be alive for you? You know,
Mhm.
you wonder what's going through your minds.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even though you were young, when we came home, we cried, my wife, for 3 hours straight, all the way home. Because we did at the time didn't know, and it's hard because your life's. I'm going through this, and it changed your life. You know, because you did not live a normal life.
Well, with my parents, you wouldn't have.
Well, that's true. But you know, you're always. I don't know what was going through your mind. You know,
It's also one of those things because it's your life. You don't know that it's supposed to be
Right.
different. Exactly.
It's your
But
life.
you know, I mean, and I worry. You know, how is it affecting you guys? Because of me. And it was hard.
It has to be hard to be on that side too. Like, it's hard to watch you go through it and watch as a child watching your parents crying about something that you don't really understand and listening to them and listening to bill collectors call and yell at your parents on the phone, and then, you know, like, that's such an odd,
Right.
and you don't really get it. But I don't know, it's just such a weird
Because you
coming
were
from
so
both.
young.
Yeah.
I mean,
And I get it now when my bill collectors call. I'm like, oh, that's what that was like. Fun. Yeah. We're going to take a break. And then we're going to talk about you getting better. Yay! We have a game coming up. It's having so much fun here.
Wouldn't it be great if your business could have a commercial on TV? Now it can. Secure your Season 5 sponsorship by visiting richardwilmore.com. Advertise on Apple TV, Roku, and Amazon Fire TV by sponsoring The Richard Wilmore Show. Become a sponsor today. Go to richardwilmore.com now.
All right, we're back. We're done crying. We have one more segment to talk about good things because life is getting better, right?
Yes, it is.
Yes. How has your life? Oh, first of all, I got to be there when my dad had his prosthetic painted. So, like, you would literally go to this artist, and she stands there with his eye in her hand, and she stares at him, and she paints his entire.
So cool.
And it's kind of cool. Like it. I mean, I don't.
It
I
was a
think it's
whole day thing, wasn't it?
yeah, yeah. And they mold
For
it
just the
all,
eyeball.
and then they have to paint it all,
Yeah.
and then it's magnetic, and it just clicks in.
Oh, cool.
Should I take it off and show?
I was going to ask you about that, but no. No. I don't
No,
want to
your
get
grandma
kicked off.
doesn't even want to see
Yeah, I don't
it.
want to get kicked off Facebook. I remember, not to go back to horrible times, I remember when you first lost, I think it was.
Do you remember when I first
Everything.
showed you guys?
Yeah,
The
and
three boys?
my mom had to like go in and clean it all out, and you could actually see into his mouth, like if he took his band, like he went for a really long time with a huge gauze tape bandage, all because he didn't have an eye, a cheek, or half his nose, but they couldn't do prosthetics or skin grafts because it was coming back so often that they didn't want to do it and then tear his face up. So how many years was that? It was,
Well, up till that year,
so probably what, 15 years?
at least, yes.
Where it was just then you changed out.
For a 4x4 bandage, that's how big it was. And it barely covered everything that was gone.
And you would take it off, and my mom would like clean it all out, and I thought I was going to be brave and like look at
That
it.
one time, yes, I remember.
And then I went and threw up because it was like such an odd, like you're staring at the inside of your dad's head and mouth, and like I mean it wasn't pretty.
No.
The inside of your skull apparently is not pretty. Just so you know. But what was that like when you found out you could get a prosthetic? Like.
Oh, it was awesome because, well, I have before I had 4x4, like I say, thing. I mean, like my ex-wife says, she could pick me out in a crowd because I had this big white bandage, and you get self-conscious, because there's people gawking at you, and there's always people that are nosy. Come up and ask you questions, and it was like.
And I think they're funny, like, oh, what does the other guy look like?
Yeah.
I remember you got that a lot.
Oh
like,
yeah.
It's like
A
funny at
lot.
first, but then you're like, eh.
It wears off fast, but I mean, I just learned to let it roll off, and when I found I got this, I thought I can fade back into the crowd, basically, and live a normal life again, because nobody's gonna see me.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be like, say, in a big crowd, I'm the only one with this big gauze bandage on,
Right.
and so it was an uplifting thing, knowing that I'm going to get it. And it was neat to watch, like you say. Well, Robert was there too. To watch how it's actually done is amazing. They do just the eyeball first, and how she just does. I mean, it's unreal. And then we went the next day and had this put on.
It was the weirdest thing to see my dad with a full face. Like, when they click it in, like, it's weird to see his face in someone's hand, because it looks like he's staring at you, but it's in someone's hand. And then you click it, and I haven't seen him like that in, 20 years. It was the weirdest,
And it was
overwhelming.
For me to look in the mirror.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
All of a sudden, you're looking and, oh my God,
yeah.
I have two eyes,
And then you went
And I
yourself.
joke,
Pretty damn good.
I joke a lot about it. Me, I coached high school girls basketball one year, and the girls we're looking at you. I said, well, I can only use one hand. I got to go 1 to 2, and they all got a big kick out of it. But
Can you tell them the story of Nyla the other day at dinner or whenever you went out to dinner?
my grandkids always have questions about it. You know, they're my grandson is, what is he, 7, 8?
8.
My little
25.
granddaughter is going to be 4 in a couple weeks, and they're curious, always asking questions, you know, and always poking at it. You know, how come you don't blink, Grandpa? Or if I close this eye and I'll be sleeping, how come you only close one eye? I said, well, I'm winking. And she's always asking questions, and she goes, how come you have that eye like that? And I told her the story, you know.
Do you want to go through it again? I'm just kidding.
And then they always, well, how come? How come this and that? And they'll get a kick. This is it's held on by magnets. And I joke around a lot. I'll put car keys up there to hold on to it. Which they think I'm pretty cool when I do that, you know.
Yeah, that's
I'm pretty, no other grandpa can do that, you know.
I just remember that one time I took you to school for show and tell.
Yes, you did. You were in kindergarten. What grade were you in? Kindergarten?
No, because it was after.
Oh yeah, it was after. So it was.
So I was probably in
Shortly
second or third
afterwards,
grade, and we
yeah.
had show and tell day, and I brought him
And we talked about my eye.
because I was like, my dad's different than your dad, and look
Yeah.
how like cool he is with his pirate patch.
Yeah, that's when I did have the patch. It was small enough to have a patch.
Yeah. What are you looking? Is there anything you're looking forward to now, or that you were looking forward to that you've been able to do since the prosthetic?
Looking for.
Like that you're excited that you're able to do, or that you feel more confident that you can do something?
I'm more
or-
confident because I can. I don't stand out
Mhm.
with this. You know, I don't get questioned a lot. You know, and it was just such a confidence builder knowing that I actually have a face.
Mhm.
You know, even though part of it's fake, but it was just a big confidence builder knowing that I didn't have all these big gauzes all over me,
Yeah.
and that it was like now I'm healing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've gone through the higher patch stage, the big gauze, and now I have this eye.
Yeah, I feel like your confidence has changed a lot. I mean, I think there was a time where you wouldn't travel alone,
No,
or you know,
Right.
and then you started traveling to Milwaukee and getting on a plane by yourself and
Yeah.
navigating that to go. I mean, you take a little. One time he was coming to see us, and the plane is so small that he has to take that when the tire blew on the plane, he reached up and said, "Excuse me, pilot."
wow.
The tire just
coming into
blew.
O'Hare. Yeah.
Oh my.
That could be a problem.
Yeah. And that's why I say I will never go back if that's how I have to get to Mellon is on that plane. But
It was adventurous.
yeah, sure.
It's a story to tell.
I guess. Do you have any advice for, or anything that you've learned that you think people in situations like yours should know or believe or think, or
Just to have a positive attitude.
how do you keep a positive attitude?
Before I had cancer, to me it always seemed if somebody had cancer and all of a sudden it was like on their I don't know how to say it. They would think of themselves already of dying.
Like a death sentence?
Right.
Yeah.
And I always said to myself, you know, if I ever got it, I'm not going to have that. And just keep on living. I always say it's the hand that God dealt you, and you just deal with it and try to live. I mean,
Trying to live.
but I mean,
Really?
I don't think I changed. I mean, I kept coaching. We played Bloody Murder the whole time, you know. I tried not to change. I just tried to keep a positive attitude. I didn't think I complained a lot because I always thought to myself, well, I complain, everybody else has other problems too. And I remember one time, this is, I think, after I had my eye removed, and well, it was a 6 months, and we found out that I had it back. And feeling bad, you know, Terry and I were in the elevator. You know, I'm thinking, oh my God, back, what's going to happen? And there was this little boy. He probably was 7, 8 years old, and he had his head shaved, and he had marks on his head. I think at the time he must have been going through radiation. And he didn't say a word. He just moaned. And I thought to myself, I'm feeling sorry for myself, and this little guy is going through this. And I wonder to this day what happened to him, you know. And my wife and I used to comment after my surgery. You would walk around in a hospital room, you know, the floor, and you look in and you think, oh my God, this person has. I think I'm just have this eye problem. Here's another person with tubes all over them. So nothing compared to what these people are going through. So I have nothing to complain about.
No.
You know,
Wow.
but
Yeah, I wish I would have gotten that gene from you, that positive attitude gene. But
it is.
yeah, what happened?
It is hard at times, you know. I mean, but you try to. I've learned, I mean, over the years how to cope with stuff. I've learned now more.
Medication and alcohol. Done. Yeah, I mean, it's nothing. It's like parenting. You can't plan for it, and you can't read a book about it. You have
No.
to kind of go with.
And you know how much medication I was on.
Yeah.
I mean, I would make the joke that I didn't have to have breakfast because I had so many pills.
Breakfast of Champions.
Wouldn't it be great if your business could have a commercial on TV? Now it can. Secure your Season 5 sponsorship by visiting richardwilmore.com. Advertise on Apple TV, Roku, and Amazon Fire TV by sponsoring The Richard Wilmore Show. Become a sponsor today. Go to richardwilmore.com.